Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, a celebrity's controversial remark regarding depression triggers online uproar and debates over mental health.
So there is a stigma about depression, how it's not really talked about in public. I want them to know that it's okay. It's a sickness and that it can be cured.
Supporters say it's time to address the global issue, fight the stigma, and talk about it.
I strongly suggest seeing a professional no matter what. Mental health is just as important as physical health.
Mental health advocates, Miss International 2016 Kylie Verzosa, and World Health Organization advocate Antoinette join us live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. Last week, netizens and mental health advocates criticized TV host Joey De Leon for his remarks on depression. On his noontime show, Eat Bulaga, the host called depression, quote, gawa-gawa lang. This triggered a wave of online outrage, and De Leon had to apologize. He said depression is no laughing matter, and he wasn't aware of the extent of the mental health problem. The controversy has brought the issue of mental health out in the open. Now advocates encourage the public to know more about this global health issue. Let's go straight to the sources of the story. Miss International 2016 Kylie Verzosa and mental health advocate and actress Antoinette. I have such beautiful women today.
Thank you so much.
You're one of them.
Annie, welcome back. You've been traveling a lot.
Thank you. I have.
Okay, and Antoinette, I saw her last week. Thank you so much again
Thank you
for
again.
coming over. This is going to be a really interesting subject. Kylie, when I first met her, I already found out that she was also looking into this advocacy. I want to start with this. You're very open about having been depressed. Kylie, what brought about your depression?
A lot of things, a lot of factors. One, and it's a cause of a lot of depression, is lifestyle, environment, I guess the way you thought about work or your relationships, not having enough balance in them. So it was caused by a lot of things, and sometimes you can't just pinpoint what really causes it, but it was a lot of things.
And how did you know you were depressed?
It was going on for quite a while, maybe around 2 weeks of feeling lost, feeling, very indecisive. I couldn't sleep, or if I did have sleep quality was really bad, or I didn't feel like I got enough sleep at all. And so I told my dad about this, and luckily enough, but unluckily, he has also been through it. So he told me, you know what, Kylie, maybe you're depressed. And I was like, what? What is that?
You couldn't believe it?
Yes, I'm like, no, I'm not depressed. So I was in denial. And so a few days went by, and he was like, Kylie, you might be depressed. I was like, depressed? What's that? So he sent me these articles online, and then that's when he told me, I think you should start seeing someone, a professional. There.
How old were you?
This was around 4 years ago.
Only?
Yes, and that's when I was diagnosed as clinically depressed.
You were diagnosed with?
I was diagnosed by 2 doctors because I wanted the second opinion. Believe me, I did not want to be there. He had to force me to be there, and yeah.
And I love how you're so open about this living with depression. Antoinette, also, I talked to her last week, but please tell them your story again.
Well, mine is actually a different case. Mine is one of the ways that you can actually really fall into depression, and mine was mostly a traumatic experience. So it was the passing of my mom, and this was over 10 years ago. So I was only 23 years old, and just to go right into what you were discussing earlier, I feel like I dealt with it in a way of being in denial for years. So it was actually something that I carried with me for years without even knowing, and I acted out. So I started behaving in a way that I never used to behave. I started going out, hanging out with friends, staying out late, going to parties, and that's something that never really was a huge part of my life. I mean, I did from time to time on special occasions. So when that happened, I wasn't recognizing it. I thought maybe, hey, this is just a new chapter of my life.
Right.
I'm fine. But my family, my friends, everyone around me, they really saw what happened. They saw the difference. They saw the change in behavior, things that, I would not say or do, suddenly I was doing. So it was really me being in denial and then finding my way to really opening up my world into accepting it. And accepting it is what I mentioned the other day. The big part of me healing was really family, friends, and faith. Because, yes,
the 3 Fs.
they never gave up on me. So even if none of them were really educated much about mental health issues, they didn't know much about these things. None of them even told me that maybe you should go to therapy because it wasn't something talked about at that time.
10 years ago.
Yes. So they dealt with it in a way that a family would, and they helped me through it. They made sure that they really kept me in check, called me all the time.
You see, that's the good thing because they just didn't say, inisip mo lang yan.
No.
Right? Because some people will say, it's just in your head.
Because we tendencies as human, if we don't see it, we don't believe it. So that's why it makes it so difficult for someone to understand mental health is because it's not tangible. It's not like chickenpox or having fever. It's something, it's not seen. A person could just walk by and not knowing he's depressed pala.
And the difference between Kylie and Antoinette is Kylie was diagnosed, right, as clinically depressed. You did not see anyone at that time 10 years ago.
Exactly.
I guess, and the other difference is that Kylie's was 4 years ago, yours was 10 years ago. And at that time, if you went to a psychiatrist about 10 years ago, people will really talk about you na sasabihin nila, may topak yan.
Yes.
And that's why we're doing this also, because I want them to know that it's okay to see a psychiatrist, that there's nothing wrong with it.
And that's what we were talking about with Antoinette, right?
Yes, we're trying to fight the stigma.
Fight the stigma.
Honestly, kasi I feel like everyone is generally not in denial about it, but everybody might be a little bit embarrassed or ashamed to admit because, we were discussing that it might seem like a weakness. And the thing is, I even say to those who have been going through a lot, because I've been through a lot as well myself, that honestly, I feel like it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength because the capacity, the courage to be able to endure all of that and still try to really make an effort to really still live your life to the fullest is really difficult. And mental health issues are something that they're all different. So you can't really equate what's worse or what's not. I always kind of put it in line with suffering. And that's why I said I pretty much got into volunteer work because of the fact that I feel like when you're suffering from a mental health issue or depression, anxiety, stress, I feel like in a way that's a lot of suffering within yourself. You're suffering alone without getting help from anyone if you keep it quiet. And people that go through a lot all around the world, whether it's hunger, whether it's human rights issues, refugees, that's all still suffering. And I feel like it's all the same. That's why it's really important to really also connect and be more compassionate and kind, like we always say.
And Antoinette was saying, I like what you said last week when she said, if there is physical health, there is also mental health, right? So there's no difference. There could be something you're feeling mentally, and there's something that you could be feeling physically.
That's right. For example, if you're sick, you go to a doctor or you go to a pediatrician, and if you're feeling down or low,
or go through something traumatic,
you can go to a psychiatrist.
Right.
Just as simple as that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. How do you know kung malungkot ka lang or depressed ka na?
Yes, that is one of the biggest misconceptions about depression, is that they like equating depression, or feeling depressed, to depression. Sadness or feeling depressed is not depression.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily depression. Depression is a medical condition and it is a real sickness. It's real. However, feeling depressed or feelings of sadness, it's a fleeting emotion. For example, we all feel sad or we all feel bad if you do break up with a boyfriend, if you lose a job, but then in a few minutes later you could feel happy if you just
bounce back.
Exactly. So it's an emotion, it's temporary and it's fleeting. It's not feeling depressed or it's not being depressed.
But who is going to tell you that you're just lonely or you are depressed? That's the time a doctor really has to come in.
Yes.
I would think so. I would recommend that as well, actually, and she would strongly.
If you've been feeling sad, if you've been feeling down or sad for 2 weeks or longer, or there's certain symptoms like suicidal thoughts, or change, abrupt changing sleeping patterns or eating patterns.
Sleeping, eating.
Yeah, I want to put up that symptoms. We have symptoms of
Yes.
when a person is actually depressed. It's also the highs and lows. You
Yes,
go through
it's
the
extreme.
the
But it
extreme.
lasts for more than 2 weeks.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Consistent.
What if, I don't know if this is an ignorant question, but in 2 weeks there was a day that you were really okay, or 2 days, does that still count as 2 weeks, or do you go back to zero?
That could be.
I feel like that's where the whole really going to a doctor on a regular basis for checkups comes into play.
Yeah.
When I was saying that if we go to the doctor when you're sick or when you're feeling bad, and you actually just go for regular checkups even if you think nothing is wrong with you, just to make sure. I feel like even going to therapy or seeing a psychologist, a psychiatrist is something that's actually really important on a consistent basis.
And it's so nice to actually see a psychiatrist. I told Antoinette I saw maybe them 2 or 3 times, and I liked it because it told me something about how I think and how I
Exactly.
behave.
You learn more about yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Before we go on a break, I wanted to ask Antoinette first, when you were living with depression, how low was low for you?
Oh my goodness, it was very, very low. So, okay, the WHO basically says that depression is the largest cause of disability worldwide. So when you say that's the largest cause of disability, it means pag depressed ka, hindi ka maka-function, di ba? Minsan hindi ka makabangon, you can't get out of bed. And I was actually in the United States pursuing a big dream in my life. And after my mom passed away, talagang uninspired ako for, I would really say, maybe 5 years at least or more. So it really stopped my life and held me back from moving forward into positive things and things that I should have been doing, because I was also very close to my mom. So it was very hard, it was very traumatic, and she was a part of my whole journey, everything in my life from the beginning. So that's a perfect example of how it's like the largest cause of disability worldwide, because it really hinders you from anything. You don't want to relate with people. You don't even feel inspired to pursue the things that you used to feel so passionate about.
All right. What about you, Kylie? How low was low?
I just want to give a point that what you said, you live with depression. It's something that you yourself have to be strong so that it doesn't come back. So I can say I've been living with depression, but then it's far off there, because right now I made myself stronger and as strong as I could. But to answer your question, how low was low, I do understand why people who want to commit suicide want to do it. I do understand now.
You thought about it?
I just understand.
All right. We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Coming up, what are the other telltale signs of depression, and where can you ask for help? Kylie Verzosa and Antoinette will still be with us after the break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Miss International 2016 Kylie Verzosa and actress Antoinette. When we talk about people living with depression, some people may say, you talked about it, Antoinette, family, friends, and faith. What if they just tell you, Kylie, Antoinette, that, magdasal lang kayo. Magdasal kayo. And you know that line, I said it a while ago, it's all in your head because happiness is a choice. How about that?
Well, for me, for example, if you have like a broken arm, you don't tell someone to just pray. I mean, you treat it, right? So it's the same with depression. It is a real medical condition, and you do have to treat it, seek professional help, and do the right things to treat it.
To treat it, to cure it, yeah.
It's actually part of the do's and don'ts. There's some videos that the WHO put out, how to deal with depression and also how to live with someone living with depression, and they call depression a black dog. So if you want to see that video, it's called Living with a Black Dog.
Oh, and it was also on your Facebook page.
Yes,
I just want to bring this in because CNN Live has an article on that, which Kylie also posted on her Facebook page, right?
Yes.
That's from...
This is called The Black Dog. It's one of the most famous informative depression videos out there.
So it's a video.
Yes, and in the video it clearly even says that when you're dealing with someone with depression, one of the main things you shouldn't do is to say na, ano ba, it's all in your head. Or come on, you can do it, you're stronger than that.
Or snap out of it.
Telling people, ano ka ba, mas marami pang nahihirapan sa'yo sa mundo.
Mas marami pang malalaking problema kaysa sa'yo.
And the reason they even say that not to say that is, ang ginagawa mo sa taong depressed, honest, lalo mo silang pinapa-feel na guilty, na parang, oo nga, why am I like this? Why am I complaining? What's wrong with me? So you really can't put fault their way. It's really kindness, compassion, love, and therapy. And they say the two best ways is really talking therapy or medication, of course, professional help. And honestly, either of the two, it's really up to you. But something really has to be done. Just the same way that we work out to keep ourselves fit, it's the same idea, I think.
See, well, I was saying that Kylie posted that article also from CNN Live. That was from Apa Agbayani. I also saw it. For those who may want to look into that, that's on CNN Live. It tells you 6 ways to deal with your loved ones who may be living with depression.
That's right. Contrary to what she just said, if those are things not to say, you could say things like, I'm here for you,
yes,
or we'll get through this together, you'll survive this, or you're not alone. Yeah. These are the things to say to someone. Or I'm here for you. But being genuine and sincere about it.
And be positive rather than negative about
Always be kind.
Di ba sabi nga nila, we're here in this world to help other people. If you can't help other people, don't hurt them.
Yes,
right?
true.
Okay, so we have that. So it goes beyond being in your head, or happiness is a choice. It's a serious problem, and you know what's good is that people are really now. There are more people taking this seriously than ever before.
I'm really, really glad that more people are coming up and opening up more about it, or even coming out, because it helps. If you talk about it more, then one, you realize that you do have it, and that other people, you know, when you share your vulnerability, it's also
I like what you said, because I was going to ask both of you, have you ever heard people say, ang ganda-ganda nyo, anong problema nyo, ba't kayo depressed? Diba?
Oh my gosh.
A couple of times, yes.
Diba? I mean,
it can happen to anyone of any race or of any
age,
stature.
Children, elderly, everyone.
Look at Robin Williams and you know, these Hollywood actresses who are at the top of their game, but they are depressed.
But it helps that you have Antoinette, you have Kylie, who are very open about this. So people think that it's okay to be open about being depressed.
Yes. Actually, when I mentioned earlier about suffering, that was one of the main reasons why I always wanted to come out and talk about it, because I felt like I can relate now. So I felt like, you know what, I feel like everybody has something that they're feeling and they're going through, and I feel like nobody should be ashamed of that, because we're all the same, but nobody just wants to speak up. And I think it's really important talaga to really support people around you. That's the most important thing. Never condemn anyone for their mistakes, and always be sensitive. Kung napapansin mong hindi naman masaya yung kaibigan mo, mapapansin mo naman, or yung family member. Because like what she was mentioning about the Hollywood actors or celebrities that end up in the places that they end up at, is because they went through it alone. They kept it quiet, and it ended up to a point where people don't even know if it was suicide or if it was accidental. And every year, well, just last year, 800,000 people died of suicide according to the World Health Organization. And suicide is the second leading cause of death for young adults 10 to 24. And this is something that should not even be a global problem. It is totally avoidable. It is totally something that can be stopped. And honestly, once again, back to it, kindness and compassion and being sensitive to the people around you, and also just not being afraid to really speak out.
I really like
Though
that.
I have to admit, it took me some time to, you know, to be able to talk about it. It is really difficult, and 3 years ago, 4 years ago, there wasn't anyone or much people talking about it. So that's also one reason why I'm doing this, so that people who are going through it have a sense of idea what they're going through. But I was very thankful that I had a good support system, which is very important for someone going through depression. To have a good support system to, you know, hold you up and tell you that you're okay, don't worry.
I'm with you.
I'm with you.
And I'm with you in this journey.
Yes.
That's the best part. And then because of this, it's actually evolved into Antoinette having an NGO, and then Kylie, aside from her stint as a Miss World, she also has Miss International. Sorry, she also has a mental health Facebook page.
Yes.
I also looked into that as well. I mean, how beautiful is that, in a way that you've put a face to depression somehow, and then you've evolved into something even more beautiful, helping other people out. So I want to talk about that, Kylie. Let's talk about your Facebook page, at least for those who may want to reach out.
So I put up this mental health support group because I wanted to reach out to people, and it's called Mental Health Matters by me. And here I wanted to share articles that have helped me go through my own depression, or I have a team behind it. Well, it comprises of my sister and my dad, and like 2 professionals.
The support.
How's that for support? Huh?
Yes.
And it's important because they know what you're going through.
Yeah.
So it's easier also to connect. And I also wanted this to be a community where you could share your stories of happiness, of joy, of survival or sadness. So it's a place, it's a safe space where you can talk about things openly, and it's good to have a good support system.
And you have a professional also.
We have a psychiatrist, a volunteer
Very
psychiatrist.
good also. And then
Just to make sure that the responses are okay, because we do get a lot of messages. Even me in my personal Instagram or Facebook, I do get a lot of messages, and sometimes pinakwento nila yung buong buhay nila. And you know, I just feel bad or feel I don't know how exactly to help them, but I do. I really do.
the best way you can.
The best way I can. That's why I put up the page so that they can vent and someone can reply. And
I like that though, that they can vent, but they can also share happy thoughts and happy experiences as well. And Antoinette here, also very busy from her NGO.
Yes, our NGO, Cora, Communities Organized for Resource Allocation, because we believe there are enough resources on the planet for every single human being, just not enough sustainable and effective means of distribution. But the reason that even happened, actually Cora is my mom, so the organization is in honor of her. But the reason that happened, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, the whole suffering is suffering for anyone. So it doesn't matter if you're starving, you're hungry, you're homeless, you don't have a job, or you're depressed, or you're just feeling anxiety. I feel like feelings of suffering are the same. And then when each person suffers in their life, when you go through something, it's important for you to remember that you need someone. You wish there was someone to help you. You wish someone would reach out to you. And why not make it the best way to actually make it, hopefully make a difference in the world, is to hopefully send it out there. And you never know, it might just come back to you, but even if it doesn't, you've helped so many lives. So I believe that honestly volunteer work is even great for people going through mental health issues, and I think a lot of therapists even recommend that for people that actually go through a lot. And it's something that I always say, so you're trying to heal people, and as you're healing people, you're healing yourself.
Healing yourself.
So in a way, you're healing the world. So to me, I feel like it's one of the ways that you can really divert all your emotions and all your feelings, and it can come out in a positive
When you are
light.
depressed, you're so inside your head. So giving time to other people, and volunteering helps a lot. So when I was depressed, I volunteered. That's when I started trying new things and learning new things.
Because you're trying to get past it.
But the thing is, I've learned so much from it. I wouldn't be where I am today without it. And honestly, it made me such a stronger person. I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't go through it.
And I have you both talking about it, and I'm in awe, seriously, on how you've both matured for your respective, your respective ages. Kylie here, I'll never forget how when we interviewed her, because I watched her win the Miss International, and how I was always tinitingnan ko siya, bakit ganun siya umiyak. There was something about Kylie that just made me wonder more about her. And Antoinette, I met very recently last week, and we had such a wonderful, fantastic exchange. I just want to thank you both for being advocates, for speaking up and putting a name into a problem. They say 1 out of every 5 Filipinos actually live with depression.
Yes. In humanitarian emergencies, people don't even realize that. More than half of the people end up depressed. And when you think about that, how many humanitarian emergencies ang nangyayari sa bansa natin? Which is why Senator Ontiveros is trying to bring it to a community level para matanggal na yung stigma.
Para maintindihan
Pati sa educational level din sana. Kasi para pagkabata pa lang, aware na din sila about these different things. And sa community level, para sa mga tao na they don't even really probably talk about depression because they're thinking about a lot of other different things.
Too many other problems. Kylie, thank you. So good to see you again. Antoinette, thank you also.
So much.
I know you guys are super busy, but we'll see you again hopefully when nag-evolve ulit itong mental health bill. Thank you. This is The Source on CNN Philippines.